Hello again, this is PC Delta Link, back with our Enigmatica 2 Let's Play Normal Mode. This is episode 50. Yeah, it's hard to believe that we've made it 50 episodes into this playthrough. This is probably the longest I've ever played a mod pack. Normally I would have moved on by now or gotten bored of the game and, lost my motivation to keep playing, but that hasn't happened yet. I'm still here, I'm still making episodes, I'm still motivated, I'm still ready to keep going for a long time. And I think a large part of why that is because I legitimately enjoy making these videos for you guys, and enjoy making the content for my channel. And I hope that these videos have been instructive for those who are looking for more tutorials on different mods. I hope that they've been informative and presented well, and that you all like them. So, to celebrate making it to episode 50, I decided I wanted to do something special for you guys. I decided it was time to do something that's been long overdue, and that this was the perfect time to do this project. And what I decided to do is a complete cosmetic overhaul of the entire base. Top to bottom, every room. So, this took a lot of time and a lot of work, but I have finished it now at this point for the moment, and I'm currently on the old world. I have a save file for the old world separately. And this episode's going to be different than the previous ones, so this is going to be a lot of back and forth that happens. In this episode, I have several sections recorded where I will show you a before shot of the room and a short video tour of that room, and then an after shot, so you can directly and more easily compare just how much a given room has changed with this upgrade that I've done. So, a couple things I need to add to this is, first off, I don't plan to go through the different blocks I used in great detail, as in I'm not going to show you how I made them or the recipes to get them in this episode, because, there's a couple reasons. I stacked all the clips together that I made so far for this, and they were already an hour long. And that was without even all the footage recorded. And that was being brief in the sections. So this episode is actually going to be 50 part 1. I'm actually splitting this into 2 episodes. And then on top of that, like I'd said, I'm not going through the recipes or anything. I'm going to make a supplementary video to this that I'll probably upload either the same day as part 2 or the day after part 2. And that's a video that if people want to know the recipes, they can watch it. If they don't care, they can skip it. But in that supplementary video, I'll go through the recipes, I'll go through how I made some of the blocks I used in some areas of this map, and I will also go a little more in depth on some of the ideas I had behind some of the construction work that I did on the base. And possibly even show some clips from when I was working on this project. I recorded a little bit of work while I was building this base, but not a whole lot. So, and also, since we're doing so many before and after clips, in my extremely long quest to actually learn how to use my editing software, I have figured out how to add transitions to different clips when merging 2 clips together. So hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother in between each of these as well. It won't be such abrupt cuts. So, yeah, we'll see how this goes. This is the first time I've really tried an episode like this. Normally I just sit down and record and we're done. But no, this one was very different in how it was approached. So, alright, with that out of the way, I will not delay this any longer. So let's get to it. We'll be starting with the tours of the areas before, and yeah, I hope you all enjoy it. Okay, the first place we're going to start with this before and after tour I've got for you guys today is the main room of our base, because why not? It makes sense to start here. So, of course, this room was one of the first things we did and finished and polished off cosmetically a long time ago. And, we have our 5x ore processing setup here. We got a bunch of other machines here that we have used at different points, our crafting terminals, our storage monitors with different resources highlighted on them so we can keep track of them at all times, and just a ton of crafting benches and chests scattered everywhere in here and whatnot, and all of them kind of unsorted. We had a couple tool racks over here holding some of our more commonly used items. And our Tinker's Construct workbenches and whatnot are over here. But, yeah, this is one of the first things we worked on this project, and it's one of the things that one of the happier parts of it about how it turned out. I really like how this turned out. It took me a while to design this, and I'll go into more detail on that on the other video of this. But, yeah, so that's just something to compare with. So with that being in mind, let's get to the new version of this room. Okay, let's get started with the main room of our base. So, welcome. This is now the main room in our base, and in case it wasn't obvious by my additions, blue is my favorite color. So we wanted to do some different things in here. First off, I still like the small brick texture that I had for most of the wall, but I wanted the wall to be more dynamic than just a flat one texture. So one of the things I did was I came up with this idea of recessed walls with a splash of color in the back of them to give some depth to walls, to make it just look nicer, to make it look more interesting than just a flat wall. So this blue tile on the ground is actually, well, it's painted cobblestone because I used painting machines a lot during this construction just to save time and resources and my sanity. But this is blue concrete tiles is what this pattern actually is. So that's what a lot of the blue is. That's what it is in the walls as well. And we have painted glowstone, of course, here and there. But up here for these wonderful vaulted ceilings, we have blue alabaster tiles from environmental materials. And then this is more painted cobblestone, but this is marble tiles from Chisel. So marble, the astral sorcery marble. Now, we haven't gotten into astral sorcery, but we will. So I love how the ceiling turned out. I love this kind of pillar of an inverted vaulted ceiling here that does a pretty nice job of separating the two. Even though they're not the same length, it still worked out pretty nicely, I think. You can see our crafting monitors are, or our storage monitors, not crafting monitors. Storage monitors are now 8 across each, so they're more symmetrical and they just look nicer and better now. Our crafting and pattern terminal have their own little alcove here. We got rid of a lot of the machines above the 5x ore setup that we didn't use anymore to speak of. We even added some conduit facade here to hide this water line coming into our chemical washer. And we have our quantum entangleporter now bringing up the sulfuric acid for our 5x ore processing. So this room took a bit of time to design. It was one of the earlier things I designed, but it's one of the things I spent the most time thinking how I was going to design it as well. And one of the things I had to do on this, and looking back, I'm still amazed that I ended up having to do this and that I actually was able to do it, but early on, I realized during the construction that this room was going to have to physically change to accommodate our new construction. And that was going to involve, I had to raise the floor 2 blocks, and then I ended up pushing this wall back, this wall in the back here, by 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the room used to end right here, and we pushed it back 4 blocks further. But yeah, the floor having to come up 2 blocks, that was absolutely a massive, massive undertaking, because that meant the floor had to be redone 2 blocks up, and everything sitting on the floor had to come up 2 blocks. All the machines, all the crafting tables, all the chests, everything on the floor had to come up. Everything on the walls had to come up 2 blocks. Our tool racks, the door, because the new floor would be, even with the top of the door here. The ceiling had to raise up 2 blocks. So I don't remember why I had to do that exactly. Why I ended up having to raise the floor and change it like that, but I know it did have to be done. I know it was not just a change that I made for the heck of it, because trust me, I would not have done that much extra work just for the heck of it. But I do like how this room turned out a lot. I think it really looks much nicer now. And yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed that, and we will now continue with the rest of the tour. Next up, of course, we had our Tinker Smeltery outside here. It's been out here since, like, gosh, I want to say episode 3 of this playthrough that we've had this thing sitting out here. It's been a long time. So we've just pretty much had that sitting out in our little courtyard out here. And I decided I wanted to create a dedicated room for this. I want a new home for our Tinker Smeltery. We don't use it often at all anymore. We may not even need it again the rest of the playthrough, but I still felt like it needed its own space. And so that is what I have created. And it was partially involving this wall over here where our current Tinker's tables and benches and all that good stuff is. So with that being said, let's proceed with the new area for Tinker Smeltery. Okay, Tinker Smeltery now has its own dedicated room. So, you know, before we had it outside, and now we've added, this is the wall that used to have the Tinker's, the tool forge, the pattern table, pattern chest, all that stuff was along this wall here in this alcove. We have now created a new room. And this is a room dedicated to Tinker's Construct. So this is now our Tinker's Construct room. So you can see we moved our smeltery down here and embedded it into the wall partially. We have some lava flowing down. This was to give it more of like a forge, a fiery hot furnace type area. We brought our anvil down here. This was a coke oven, and I'll get into why I had that in the supplemental video to this. But, yeah, I ended up just leaving it down here. We have our iron drum that we use for lava in case this needs any more lava. And we do have a crafting terminal we moved over here now. We'd originally wanted one upstairs and we never got it. But now we have it. And, of course, we moved all of our necessary workbenches and tables and chests and all that down to this floor as well. So yeah, the floor here, it's painted cobblestone of course, but this is actually coal blocks. Just solid coal blocks chiseled into this pattern. And the steps are seared brick stairs. From the seared bricks we used to create the Tinker's Smeltery to begin with. So alright, that about does it for this room. So with that being done, let's move on. Also, one of the things we updated was this room back here. This room was really only used for when I first demonstrated the Applied Energistics 2 mod to you all. After that, it was kind of abandoned. We'd kept this room functional for a little while because our inscribers that are, you know, way down in the basement used to be in here. But other than that, this room was basically abandoned. And I never really updated it. The cobblestone in the corner is actually my AFK spot. If I have to, like, back when I was leaving the drills running or whatever, or if I was letting the solar cells regenerate power, we just kind of hid in here and went AFK. And so yeah, that was really all this room was used for after that. So, but now we have something different in what this room is and what we're using it for and how it looks. So let's show that to you guys next. Okay, whereas before we had the kind of just abandoned room back here that was our intro to Applied Energistics 2, we have now created this little kind of room down these stairs here. And this room was where a lot of our chests got moved to. But most important of all, this was our cosmetic room. This is where we did a lot of the cosmetic work. You can see we have 3 painting machines here for different blocks. And so we have our architect's saw bench down here, which we use for some stuff. And you can see all the different textures of all the different things in here. And this was just a massive undertaking. And yeah, so that's what this room got turned into. It's kind of a pseudo storage room for just the different fancy things we were trying to work on this. So nothing too amazing, but it's functional and it looks a lot better than that abandoned, decrepit room we had before. So let's move on. And of course we have this hallway over here past our main area. We had just recently expanded and added this quite clear glass window here to see, similar to the window we have here. I do like quite clear glass. It is just a fun block, just being perfectly, well, clear. And we had recently widened and dug out this hallway before. This had kind of not really been that finished per se. But there was just some stuff here that needed to be fixed up, like we have all this cabling and exposed works back here underneath our 5x ore area. And this, of course, leads to our solar evaporation tower over here. So that's, we have a, I think this was an apatite vein, and those veins are, the veins for apatite is just ridiculously huge, and we just never bothered filling it in. This part of the base is relatively unfinished, and we have the cobblestone here, but we really didn't do a whole lot besides that. And over here we got our sinks supplying water to our solar evaporation tower, and then the brine being produced coming out here and down, of course, to our dynamic tank over here. And so my idea wasn't to do a whole lot with this hallway, but just definitely to make it look more reasonable and to make it look finished, unlike its current state. So, alright, with that in mind, here is the new version of this hallway. Okay, this is now toward the back of our main room, and this is now the hallway that leads to our thermal evaporation controller. So you can see the stairs here that from the floor being raised up here, we did have to create a small staircase coming down to this walkway now. And of course we have our recessed walls. And we created this domed ceiling. I'm not 100% sure I'm happy with this, but I like it well enough, and I think it looks okay. And it just gave some texture to what was before just a flat, plain, boring ceiling. Over here we just continued with our recessed walls here with some texture to them. We have a slightly fancier one here with... I liked the marble color and textures, so I decided to try to put them with the blue concrete tiles where I could. So of course we have our marble pillars and one stripe of white to kind of go with this bit on the floor here. And so that was one of our big things, was that we left the rest of this room fairly unchanged. On the walls back here it was fairly unchanged. We just added the textures for the ceiling and the floor. You notice the sinks are in the floor now. We recessed the sinks and put them down to where they're less obtrusive and kind of hidden. We have this trapdoor from Molasses Trapdoors, and this drops into a maintenance area. And here's our water lines that are feeding the thermal evaporation tower. Now, the thermal evaporation tower actually had to be made taller for these lines to connect down here, because I did not want to tear the thing up and above ground. I couldn't have lowered it anyway, but I could expand it downward from the bottom. So yeah, I added, I believe it was 3 blocks I had to add on to it. And so both our brine line and our water line are now hidden under the ground here. So they're out of the way, you don't see them anymore. It's just nicer that way. The next thing we added is you remember we had our 5x ore area there, of course. You'll notice now that all the cables and all the piping... Whoa, nice bit of lag there. All the cables and the piping that were kind of exposed here are now hidden. And we created this sort of back maintenance area. Now, this area is not technically finished. I wasn't really planning to put a lot of work into this spot right here, because this is really just a maintenance area that I won't be in very often. But you can see we have quantum entangler up here. And this is now what transports the oxygen up here. And this now transports the hydrogen chloride up here. And then you can see some more of the cables kind of hidden under here. Now, if you notice right here, what you're actually looking at is the old floor that used to be up here. You can see the bottom of our current floor. This was the old floor. So a lot of it I just left because it was easier than ripping it all out. But yeah, so that gives you an idea of where stuff is and where it used to be. And then lastly, we added this fancy railing from Architecture Craft, which we'll touch on that again in the supplemental video, but just a nice little railing to give this some character here and make it look a bit better. And I didn't even know this existed until I was playing around with it in creative mode and found it. So, alright, with that being... Oh, and the window here, this used to be all quite clear glass. I left a little bit of small bricks here now to give it more of a framed look. So it wasn't completely glass. I wanted something that's slightly different to it. So, alright, let's move on. Okay, we are down here in our lower floor next to our induction matrix. And of course, we had dug out this area to kind of look at the underground river area from above with our glass ceilings. And also, eventually, our ME controller room from above. And of course, we have our farm market here that we used to buy some of the tree seeds we needed for this overhaul and whatnot. And yeah, it's just a really handy little quest time. But again, this place was never finished. It was partially done. You know, you can see we have some of our chiseled bricks in different spots here. We have a couple pieces of painted glowstone. But we never really did a whole lot. And so I decided to work on that and kind of more closely finish it. And I also wanted to, one of the projects I had in here is I wanted to clean up the cables. These cables and pipes, they were kind of a mess and I really didn't like them. So I wanted to find a way to more easily conceal them and hide them. And so that was what one of our focuses on this floor. So with that being said, here are the updates we've done to this place. Okay, so this is now the downstairs area below our main room. And you can see we've just gone to town with these recessed walls and adding just a lot of them to the area and some of our fancier marble ones as well. We still have our window down into the ME controller room, which you're getting a little sneak preview of that because we haven't gotten to there yet. But we took out the market. That's currently not down anywhere. We added a true proper ceiling to this. You can see there's no mess of cables going everywhere now. It's all covered. We added a little bit of... We actually raised the induction matrix up by 1. And then we added this little bit of stairs to give the ceiling a little bit of work around the induction matrix. We left the window here for the lower area. And we took out, of course, you saw the maintenance area just previously with the gas tanks now. So we don't have the gas tanks down here anymore. So those lines are gone. This room is pretty much untouched, although we did add our walkway in here. But that was pretty much about it. And then we aligned the outside edge with more of that tiled marble. One new thing we did add, and this was a pretty big thing for us to add as well. This right here is a whole bunch of quantum entanglepores. We have a whole lot of them, more than we had previously now. And the reason for that is instead of having cables going everywhere around the base, I just wanted the induction matrix to grab a cable and supply it to these, and these will take it where they need to go. So like this is our farm and biogenerator area, this is the Nether Star quantum one, the drill power, the wither farm, and the hydrochloric acid, HCl. So any further, the nice thing about this room is I can expand it. I can just dig out this wall and keep going if I needed to. And this can be expanded and have more quantum entanglepores added to it. So this was a nice way to get the power to where it needed to go into the base without having the cables being so obtrusive and showing everywhere. So alright, I think that's about it for down here. So let's move on with the next part of our tour. Okay, next we're going to take a quick look at our sort of maintenance hallway down here we had for our farms we have up on the top side. This is also where our gas burning generators are located. So, you know, we have some cables going over here supplying power to our various machines. We have this cable going over to our manufactory, which grinds up the wheat, of course. Then the redstone furnace cooking bread. The redstone furnace here making baked potatoes, and those are going all the way over to the Botania area for mana generation. And we have our tiny little room here with our pressurized reaction chamber fed by biofuel from the crusher, you know, all this good stuff. But the room's unfinished, and there's lots of dirt everywhere. There's actually visible sky right here, for crying out loud. Whoop. So yeah, this just needed some improvement as well. You know, hallway right here that we can't even get through because it's made for just the cable. So yeah, I wanted to work on this hallway a little bit as well, because this definitely needed at least some polishing up to make it look somewhat decent. So okay, and with that, here is the updated version of this hallway. Okay, we have now finished the hallway for the gas burning generator and the farm machine area. So if you come down here, you'll see this is all completely textured now. And we added a proper elevator here, because you might remember that before we just had like a hole in the ceiling right here, somewhere around here, that we were just jumping up to the outside from, and the rain leaked in. It was great, really. And so we widened this hallway here by 2 to get this more fancier hallway with the tiles, the sunken, the concrete, and then more sunken tiles. I just like how this looks as a pathway. But of course, 5 blocks wide is a little wide for a pathway, but I think it works here. Our gas burning generator room, we expanded it slightly so we can actually get back here behind these if we need to. And of course, they now just feed into a quantum entangler. And so this room's just looks a lot nicer now. This part of the area I really didn't do anything with. In fact, I did nothing with this because this is more of a maintenance pathway back here. So I saw no real reason to change it at this time. It wasn't a big enough deal that I cared enough about it. So I just had it pretty much end here on both sides, with our textured wall ending there and on this side over there. So alright, with that done, let's move on to the next step of our journey. The next thing we're going to glance at for the before picture real quick is our farm setup out here, both animal farm and the plant farm. So of course we have our apple trees scattered around the base that we were using mainly for the Draconic Evolution fusion crafting, since the level 1 needed apples. And, you know, we had our simple crops over here we were using for our nutrition meter management. We have our peanuts right here, carrots, sugarcane we were growing for paper. And, you know, we had our chicken farm that we set up our chest here to start farming materials out of, using our item collector, of course. We have our cow farm over here in case we needed leather. This pool of, I don't know what this stuff is. It's from the wizardry mod, but I still have yet to figure out what this stuff does. I don't know anything about wizardry. And then, of course, over here we have our, these have been around for a very long time too, but our farms from actually additions, our wheat farm and our potato farm, which is used for both power generation and for mana generation. So these are very important farms. I had built these to where I could upgrade them. I could add more sprinklers, I could add more farmers on each of the other 3 sides, but I never saw a need to. We never ended up getting to the consumption rate that they were necessary. They were keeping up just fine as is, so we left them alone. But these were, I had built these kind of with an idea of doing something more with them. You know, I kind of hollowed out the area above them, but I kind of left this mountain thinking maybe I might do something with it later. But I never really did. So, yeah, our next project was the farms. And so with that being said, here is our updated farms. Okay, the next thing I'm going to show you guys is the farm area that has been completely redone. Both the animals and the crop farms have been completely changed on how they're kept. So, alright, the first thing you'll notice is that they're gone. There's nothing out here anymore. This is a completely empty field. And there's no torches here either. There are, here's one right here, painted glowstone grass blocks. So, we have a pathway here. This is chiseled it's painted cobblestone, but it's actually chiseled emerald blocks is what this texture's from. And we kept the same thing with the sunken texture for the sides. What obviously you notice right away is we have a giant greenhouse right here. So yes, we have created a very large greenhouse for our potato and wheat farm using this framed glass pane and glass block. And of course our mossy stone and cracked stone and all that stuff. The farms are actually in the same spot they were before. They did not move. I did not rip out the farms and replace them. I built the structure around them. So I really liked this framed glass. I think it looks great for a greenhouse. And it didn't take too much effort to build this. It took me a while to design how big I wanted it. That was one of the things. And even now it's a little cramped, but for what else I built, I kind of had no choice. I really couldn't make this any bigger. But it's big enough that I could still add on the extra, if I wanted to add more farmers to this, I still have enough room on the sides, I could do that. If I needed to add some storage, there's enough room either on the sides or in the back a little bit, like in the middle back here. I could add some storage out here, so that's not a big deal. Alright, the next one is our other crops that we were using for our nutrition meter, like our peanuts and our watermelons and our carrots and all that stuff. Those had their own smaller greenhouse. So this is our second greenhouse we built, and I'll give you a little bit more, another shot of this from above here. So right, we have a second greenhouse here. All of our sugar cane in here for our paper production. Our carrots, our peanuts, and then our watermelons, which are happily growing in here. Now, one of the things we did do is this is, if you notice out here, this is partially built into the mountain on both sides, up at the back here, and a little bit on the side, and then on the left side as well. So because of that, I intentionally decided to leave part of this wall unfinished. And you can see this is just basic stone, some basic dirty, and a little, well, it's painted glowstone, but I left it as grass in here. We textured some of the dirt to give it some more flavor, but otherwise, yeah, we intentionally left that wall undone to make it seem like it was part of the mountain. We kind of did the same thing over here. We have a couple pieces of stone exposed over here. Alright, the next thing is our animals. Where did they go? They went over here. So we have a barn right here that we built using mainly oak wood stairs and cobblestone stairs for accents around the edge of the roof. And so this is now our sheep farm, and here's our cow farm. Are we missing one? No, they're all here. Okay. We kept 5 of each. We got rid of the rest of the animals that we didn't need at this point. I think 5 is enough, and if I need to breed more, I can. There's enough, it wouldn't take too long. We gave them some grass that they can eat. You can see the sheep have actually eaten it recently. It does grow back in here. I didn't really add any other furniture to this. This was mainly all constructed out of oak planks, spruce wood fencing, and oak wood stairs. The reason I wanted the spruce wood is it gave some contrasting color to the wood textures in here. And we just have plain oak wood blocks for a lot of the supporting beams of the structure and even the floor in here. Over here, we have a chicken coop. And so this is our chicken coop. We currently don't have any way to automatically collect all the drops they have. We took out the item collector because it was, that gold chest on it was full. It really didn't need to be done anymore. We did create some chicken nests here. These automatically collect eggs to a degree. As you can see, it looks like they hold 4 and then they stop filling up at that point. So we have a wood block in the ceiling, but it's actually painted glowstone. That's the only light source here, but it's more than enough for this tiny little room. So again, we kind of went with some cobblestone and oak wood and then just spruce fencing to give the sides some accent to it. And yeah, it's kind of a basic chicken coop, but I think it works pretty well. And I'm fairly happy with it overall. So alright, I think that's the end of the farm area. So let's move on to our next objective and thing I want to show you guys. Okay, we are actually not moving on. When I had recorded that last fragment of the episode, it was still at the point where I was going to compile all the clips into one episode. But as I said, that would add up to over an hour worth of footage, and I'm not going to do that to you guys. So that's going to be the end of part 1 of episode 50. So I hope you all enjoyed what you've seen so far. There's plenty more to come, and I'm saving the best for last at the end of part 2. So yeah, that's going to be it for now, but thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you next time.